Thank you for joining us for CISO Talk. Hey, Pete, how you doing?
Fantastic, Shahir. Good afternoon, good morning, good day to you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I see the jacket is crazy. Thank you very much for coming up like a star.
I'm about to go to a party for my brother, and I wore this jacket figuring it'd be a little bit different. You know, we're on a lot of Zoom calls, and it's always fun to do something a little different. And today we're talking about a subject that I really enjoy, and that's small and medium-sized business threats and what to do about them.
I hope you don't mind. We prepared you several questions that is related to SMB, that is related to the challenges, the impact, what's going on in the market, how the COVID is impact of the SMB market, and I hope that it's okay that we're going to take your knowledge and investigate it with you. A couple of questions because we have a lot of things that we want to do.
I'm ready. Fire away, sir.
Tell me, Pete, from your experience regarding the cybersecurity landscape and regarding what's going on right now, what do you see right now that is the most common SMB threats that are affecting SMB customers?
You know, there's a number of them. You can look at it from two sides. You can look at it from the external threats, and then you can look at the challenges that a small and medium-sized business has on the inside. So externally, you know, one of the things here at Checkpoint that we have is Checkpoint Research. And Checkpoint Research is one of the largest international research firm. We literally have hundreds of analysts looking and classifying threats every single day, zero-day threats, but also doing research on what are the threats to certain segments. So we track threats to the banking industry and other verticals. We track government threats. We track other enterprise threats. But for the purposes of this call, let's talk about small and medium-sized threats. So our research shows in this order: phishing, malware, credential theft, ransomware, remote access breaches, and then, believe it or not, insider threats. So, you know, those are the external threats, except for the internal threat. But the other side of the coin is the challenges that small businesses have. And it really starts because they're small and they don't have the budget. And the budget also means they don't have the ability to buy perhaps the best tools. They don't have the ability to hire the most senior security folks that are experts. You know, they don't have a consulting budget where they can reach out to consulting companies and spend thousands of dollars and analyze. They don't have the money to do scans and vulnerability remediation. So it really puts them, frankly, at more risk than the enterprise. And the combination of these two things mean that more and more small businesses are being compromised. And, you know, the thing is, they don't think they're a target. They don't realize, you know, that their so-called internet front door is literally 500 milliseconds away from every single hacker on the planet. So if you think about that, you know, small and medium-sized businesses usually think, you know, physical security, I'm going to put a lock on my front door, you know, I'm going to put a little alarm, I'm going to do some video cameras, and they're protected from local physical threats. But with small and medium-sized companies that are on the internet and email and websites and whatnot, the entire planet full of hackers is outside their front door. So those two big combinations of threats and lack of resources are leading to a pretty large spike and increase in small and medium-sized companies being compromised. So long answer to a short question.
It's a good. We talked about the challenges and how do you see the latest challenges that we have with the market during the pandemic, or maybe how do you think that SMB, what is the challenges with the pandemic, you know, post-COVID, and how it's going to look like from their perspective, how they're taking security from their side, of course?
Well, sure. So when COVID first came out, we made one of the most dramatic shifts in workforce that we've ever done. And it happened very quickly, almost overnight. Within weeks and months, small and medium-sized companies, just like enterprises, had to address their workers and especially their knowledge workers, and being able to support their work outside of the four walls of an office. So small and medium-sized companies had to scramble and figure out, okay, do I need to set up VPN? Do I need to set up remote access? How, they weren't thinking about zero trust at all, because it's a concept that's far more difficult and requires money and time and consultants. They were just thinking, how do I get my business running? So what's happening now is they're realizing that, some of the technology that they quickly put in place is not as secure as it should be. And so now, 2 years in, we're seeing a trend from our small and medium-sized customers where they're saying, look, I scrambled, we got our knowledge workers working online. Let's go ahead and start looking carefully at what are those risks. Did I increase my risks? For example, we didn't buy a laptop for every single employee. We just assumed that they had a laptop and we gave them remote access, but we really didn't think about their laptops. We didn't think about, is it being shared with their kids, their gamer kids that are going to all kinds of gamer sites. We didn't think about how secure the home office might be. Is it how did they configure their wireless? Is it shared wireless? Are they using their neighbor's wireless? You'll hear all kinds of crazy stories. And what it really leads to is insecurity. And with insecurity, you have to address that. Otherwise, you're going to be compromised. So that's one of the, top reasons that you and I are talking today is, how do SMBs, address those post-COVID risks with home offices, home laptop computers. And the other thing I didn't mention was cell phones. Most companies, unlike, paranoid security experts, they don't do two cell phones, one for the office and one for home. Most folks leverage, the same phone for work and business. So there's all kinds of new risks with that. So I gave you a lot of things there for your answer, and hopefully we'll get into some of the answers, some of the details here in just a moment.
To be honest, if we spoke in the past all of the SMB that doesn't have any kind of dedicated person or the lack of budget, of course, from the end, really, it's really amazing to see how the market is really shift in 2 years now, and basically we can say that the SMB market is becoming everywhere. Okay, companies and small businesses and small companies are feeling more comfortable to work from different environment in their daily, and basically in and outside of the office in a hybrid model, and the perimeter is gone. We can say that there's no also just network security, where you have also remote access in your mobile and so on and so on. And I think that really we have a lot of threats from this kind of space, this kind of area, when we're talking about home office or small office, when it's kind of SMB, small, someone CEO of a company or someone that have his own office in the end, and he's want to buy security. What exactly is the expectation that he need to look in when someone is offering security for his office? What kind of solution he need to ask? What he need to know?
Well, that's a great question, and that's actually going through the minds of hundreds of thousands of business owners or key employees that are in charge of it, because sometimes it's not the business owners that makes a decision. It's the person that is the last person to step forward. They're able to fix the copier, and all of a sudden now they're the technical person, and they're making the decision for technical purchases for the company. And there are a lot of challenges, as you just outlined. Mobile workers really want to have that seamless ability to, work on a laptop wherever, transition to a cell phone, transition back to a laptop, transition to an office, because we're getting back to offices now. And they want to have a seamless experience, but they also need security. And, we talked briefly about, home suite insecure home with, bring your own laptops, bring your own wireless. One of the first things that a small business owner should look at is, look, I know the wireless that my internet provider is wide open to my family. So for my business, I want to go ahead and get a small firewall that offers wireless. And because my primary wireless is not 100% reliable, I want to have a small, medium-sized, firewall that also has cellular backup. So in the case, I've got critical meetings to participate in, critical emails. I can't have, like a big company, I can't, be knocked offline because, my kids are gaming or, the internet goes down. I need to be able to be online all the time. So having the physical and the wireless connectivity is key. The next area that you start looking at is, ease of use and ease of deployment. So, having a firewall that literally comes out of the box and is zero touch is key. Checkpoint has a new provisioning capability to where, it is so easy. And in fact, I can show you here right now. I've got it right here. Once I log into my cell phone, I've got Watchtower. So Watchtower is an app that the small and medium-sized business owner can use to manage and monitor their security of not only their own firewall in their office, but also their firewalls in their key employees or key field locations. So, what used to be only available to the enterprise, to the largest companies, is now available to small and medium-sized companies. And not just in the provisioning and in the management, but most importantly, in the features. And, the biggest feature of a firewall should be prevention and prevention of unexpected events. And, with small and medium-sized companies, they have the same challenges that enterprises do. They want to prevent a business disruption. They're wanting to prevent the loss of their proprietary information or customer lists. They're wanting to prevent, any type of reputational hit. So, they have the same type of drivers, but of course, back to the budget issue and the expert issue. And those things are now going away with the small and medium-sized business offering from Checkpoint, because as I mentioned, the firewall uses the same code as the largest firewalls in the Checkpoint line. So the same firewalls, the same code that protects banks and enterprises and governments and the largest companies in the world, that same level of protection is now available to small and medium-sized companies. So, for example, real quickly, we just went through Log4j in December. Log4j kicked the butt of our competitors. Our competitors focus on detection, which means they allow attacks like Log4j to pass through their systems for them to detect it. That's not the way it works here at Checkpoint. Checkpoint focuses on prevention. So Checkpoint dropped those attacks that were attacking enterprise companies as well as small and medium-sized companies, to where it's what we refer to as preemptively dropping. We didn't have to set up a rule. We didn't have to. The small and medium-sized business owner didn't have to see it in the news or get information from anywhere, threat feed. They didn't have to do any of that. It's all connected to the firewalls connected to our threat feeds. And in the case of the SMB firewalls, it blocked it preemptively, and people slept at night and didn't have to worry about it. So there's as you started out, there's lots of challenges, but now with this new initiative from Check Point with small and medium sized for them, they're getting enterprise level protection at at a very, very competitive price.
How do small business, okay, can feel comfortable that is secure, okay? What kind of tools they will need to look for, okay, when he's buying security for his office?
Yeah, so that's a good two-part question. So let's think about this. First off, that is actually a huge challenge. How do you know you feel secure, especially when you're not a security expert? And there's, I don't think you can possibly feel secure, especially knowing what's going on in the world. We know that some of the largest companies in the world have just been breached. Think about it. Just in the last couple of weeks, Lapsus has breached Samsung and Okta and Envision and Microsoft. Think about a small business owner, that doesn't have the budget of Microsoft, and they're watching Microsoft being hacked. So yeah, how do you feel secure in a world where you don't have the budget of Microsoft, they're being breached, and you have a very, very small budget and or no security experts? So it's a terrible position to be in. And the way that it has to be answered is you have to work with a partner. You're going to have to work with, Check Point sells direct, does not sell direct. It sells through partners. Sorry about that. It doesn't sell anything direct. And these partners they're going to have a lot of tools in their tool bag. And of course, you're going to start with an analysis of your business. They're going to look at, the type of connectivity that you need. Who are your partners? What are your risks? What are you trying to protect? And they're going to make recommendations. And among them is going to be a firewall. And they're going to, once it's installed, which goes very, very quickly, they're going to fire up some of their scanning tools. And there's lots of, free scans out there. There's, everything from, Linux-based tools that they can fire up to, the commercial tools like Rapid7 and Qualys and whatnot. And they're going to be able to take those tools and run them against the firewall that was just installed and or the laptops that they have on an internal basis. And they're going to validate it, and they're going to prove to the customer, and the logs that come out of the firewall are going to say, hey, I saw that. And they're going to, you're going to be able to do, what's called a full life cycle test. A full life cycle test is you install the product and then you actually attack it to make sure that it's configured correctly. So with a little bit of help from a Check Point partner, literally in less than a day and perhaps just a couple of hours, you can go from not knowing and worrying and literally being insecure to being as secure as an enterprise company. So it's quite quick to do, and we're talking about let's just face it, it's in the low thousands, for a firewall and for consulting and for the scanning, you should be able to get that for less than $2,000. So what does it cost to sleep at night for a small business? About $2,000. So there's your answer.
You said something right in the end. SMBs, security services as some kind of internal paradox. Okay, if the works is done right, okay, the SMB is not aware of security issues or mishaps. However, the quietness that's going to be counterproductive as the customers might not be aware of the value that they're getting from paying the customers. Okay, when we're talking about value for customers, I think that we in Check Point, I think that I will be happy to share that we have two ways how to create a value that someone is protecting you. Just so you know, okay. One is our periodical SMB security reports, okay, and that we are providing for the Quantum Spark, for example. that we are providing information in detailed report regarding the things that are going on your network, any kind of malicious files, what's going on network, malicious things that your workers gone, usage, malicious files, and so on and so on. But also, like you saw, the Watchtower application, okay? The mobile application can inform you with push notification in real time regarding if anything is requiring your attention, okay? And it's really a challenge to create real-time value for SMB, for small businesses in the end, okay? But I'm very happy that you download the application, just so you know.
Well, I use it in my home office. And frankly, I have all of our competitors' firewalls in my office/lab. So I have the other guys as well. And, I need to be able to speak to their strengths and weaknesses. And, one of the things that I really love about Checkpoint is how efficient the management is. Checkpoint has, we talked a little bit about prevention, but it's one thing to have prevention if you have to go through 50 menus and 27 clicks on each menu. With Checkpoint, the developers have worked extremely hard at maximizing the efficiency of the interface to the point where we actually make fun of the competition. We actually have what's called the agony meter here at Checkpoint. And for a simple firewall change, say you want to add, the small and medium-sized partner, wants to do some payroll transfers to a new partner. Well, how many clicks and how many menus does that take? It takes minutes with Checkpoint, and it takes dozens of minutes with our competitors. So that's not just painful that you have to, pick up a manual and read the manual on how to make a simple change. But the more complex that a menu system is, leads to more errors and more mistakes during a configuration. And that's one of the things that Checkpoint is absolutely at the top of the stack about, is because of less complexity and because of the straightforward nature of the descriptions of the menu. There's not, you're not going to see an error code. You're going to see, how do I set up my DNS system? It's going to say DNS. It's not going to say something wacky and some error code that you have to cross map to. Because it's easier to set up, you're going to make less mistakes. And that's, misconfigurations of security equipment is one of the leading causes of breaches. And so with less complexity, less mistakes, less breaches, and quicker to get back to your business. Small and medium-sized companies, they don't have time to fiddle around with equipment. They want to, knock things out, and they don't need to, pull out the manual. They don't want to call 10 people and, have go through that. I want to be able to pull up Watchtower, make some changes, and move on with my business. And with Checkpoint Quantum, that's exactly what you can do.
Another two last questions. From your perspective and from your past experience, what kind of business model or business, what maybe preferred financial model the SMB small businesses will prefer?
Let's look at the financial side of things. And this is where Checkpoint is far more flexible than other vendors. There's capital expenditure and operating expenditures. So the nice thing about Checkpoint is we support either of those financial models, whether it's by licensing or by hardware purchase. It's super flexible. So whatever your tax advantage may be, or whatever your financial position may be, we're going to be able to support both of those purchasing types. Now, what we haven't talked about, which is also quite important, is I need management help. I want 24/7. The other thing that Checkpoint offers, as well as their partners, is a MSSP service and a managed detection and response service, where Checkpoint, once again, the world's greatest researchers and the world's top security experts here in the United States are able to, connect to your equipment and manage and monitor it. And it's not just the quantum firewalls. It's also, we haven't talked too much about it, but Check Point has a full line of cloud protection, Cloud Guard. We have the most extensive line of protection for, cell phones and laptops and home computers and servers with Harmony. And those three different technologies can be managed through one console and also managed by one MSSP. So a full, range of purchasing solutions from, do it yourself all the way up to, handing it off to Check Point to manage completely. And not just the day-to-day tasks, but full life cycle, full upgrades. And the other thing about the MSSP is that, they're prepared for any type of incident. So if you do have and that's another challenge that, small and medium-sized companies have, is they don't prepare for an incident. They don't have an incident response plan. They might not have all the backups they have. So in a ransomware situation, they're scrambling for backups and scrambling on who to call. With Check Point, all of those fears and issues go away. Check Point walks you through all of the different requirements that you have, whether it be the call trees and the escalation processes, the network mapping, the equipment shipping and management and provisioning, as well as any kind of tech support issues. If you have a little glitch with printing or something, hey, how do I do this? You'll be able to talk to somebody at Check Point. So the neat thing is, you ask the question, how does a small and medium-sized business buy Check Point? Well, any which way they want to buy it, we're going to be able to help them and get them secure and happy. So lots of answers there.
And last question, what's next? What's next for small businesses?
We're hearing about the migration and to the cloud, and we've seen that already with small businesses. We've seen it. Who wants to manage their own email? It used to be you had to set up your own email server, and you were managing Exchange or some other email server service, and it was really painful and difficult and expensive, and you had to have backups and synchronization and licensing, and it was terrible. So the small business said, look, I need to outsource this. And there's been a huge move to Office 365 and even for large companies recognizing that it's cheaper and better to have somebody else, some other suite of experts manage that. And we're seeing it with other applications as well. So whether it be, people, connecting to payroll services, people connecting to their accounting and their inventory management system. So we're seeing a huge trend, whether or not they think they're using the cloud, every time they connect to a SaaS application, they are using the cloud. So more and more type of those applications, but those type of applications also have their own risks. If we look at what's recently happened, with supply chain risks, we've seen, Kaseya, we've seen SolarWinds, we've seen, the evidence of it with Colonial Pipeline being completely shut down, and even though they weren't a small business, they were sort of small actually, not that many employees. They were shut down because they didn't have good protections in place to their partners, and so we're seeing huge trends of leveraging the cloud, leveraging SaaS applications, but they have to look at the risk to those type of applications. For example, Office 365, what we're finding is that the native tools like Advanced Threat Protection and EAL, level 5 licenses with all the knobs turned on are not good enough. You have to look at additional software, email protections. And once again, Check Point has the leading solution with a company that we just bought, the Avanan solution. It is the #1 rated solution. So for companies that are moving to the cloud and moving more SaaS applications, we're going to have the best solutions. Another trend that we're seeing is, even at the small size companies, they're trying to develop, they're doing a little bit of software developing. And, they want a proprietary system. They want a competitive system that somebody else might not have. They're trying to develop at the speed of their business. So they're having developer challenges. And in that case, once again, Check Point with a shift left strategy, just bought a company that analyzes software code as it's being developed. So for small and medium-sized companies that didn't have the ability to build security into the code that they're writing, now Check Point has a fantastic solution that's super easy, super fast, super easy to deploy, and integrates with GitHub and all the different repositories and all the different CI/CD type pipelines that even the more sophisticated small businesses are using. So lots of different trends, connectivity trends, workforce mobility trends, cloud trends, development trends. So a lot to think about there, but all of them can be addressed with products and services from Check Point and their partners. And it just takes one phone call to have the experts come in and take a look at what the small, medium-sized company is doing and address those risks very quickly and thoroughly, and with not as much as expense as it used to be. It used to be very expensive to do it right, but now with Check Point's Quantum Firewall line, very, very inexpensive, very full-featured, and it's also available now. That's the other thing. Some small businesses are faced with supply chain issues. If they're manufacturing something, they're seeing all kinds of supply chain issues with delivery timelines and that are affecting them. That's the one thing they don't have to worry about. Check Point. Check Point has planned for supply chain issues, and the quantum equipment is in stock. Of course, it's easy to print new software licenses, so that's never an issue. But for the hardware that's necessary, we have it in stock, and I see the stock reports every day, and we're doing good. Not only what's in stock, but our own Check Point stock on the market is doing well as well. So sorry to confuse the two.
Okay. Pete, thank you very, very much for joining us today, for taking this call, of course, from your side. Thank you for your input. Thank you for a lot of things that we discussed here that we can think about. Any last words regarding SMB in Check Point?
You can't ignore the risk. And that's what, the first step to fixing it is at least starting to understand that your SMB is at risk. And ignoring it is not a mature approach. It's not an acceptable risk acceptance approach. And it shouldn't be. You have to be the adult. You're the owner. You're looking out for your employees. You're looking out for your partners. And the decisions that you make are critical. If you make the wrong decision, your business can go out of business. And it could be as simple as a $1,000 decision, picking the wrong equipment. We've recently seen our competitors being the vector of being hacked, and I don't need to really name names, but they're out there. If you made that decision and your company is being, hacked through your security equipment, that was a pretty bad decision. You really need to look at Check Point. We have the least number of vulnerabilities, and we have the fastest response to those vulnerabilities of any security or internet company on the face of the earth. So you can be really confident. So once you embrace the fact that you're at risk, it just takes, just go to checkpoint.com and put in your region, There's a big section on small and medium-sized risks. There's some really great resources out there to read, and you can commiserate and see those the risks that you have to ransomware and insider threat and malware, and learn about what those threats are, because you might not know what credential threat theft is. You might not realize that using the same password on all your websites is not okay. But that's where a lot of people make that mistakes. And that's where Checkpoint came in with Harmony, and Harmony will fix that and make sure you don't use the same password everywhere. So lots of good answers here but it takes is one browse to Checkpoint, or one phone call to a Checkpoint partner, and talk to them about Quantum and Harmony. And you'll be very, very happy that you did. You'll be able to sleep much better at night.